everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all having an amazing day as always. And today I thought I would go through what I read during the month of September. I did a fair amount of reading today, not as much as I usually do because I've been quite busy, but I did do a good amount of reading. And I thought I would go through the books that I read this month in case you guys wanted some new recommendations or you are like me and just like watching these videos for fun. So yeah, I thought we would just get right into it. As a disclaimer really quick, I do have a couple of physical copies of these books that I'll show you, but a good portion of them I have like read on my Kindle. So for those books I'll just put like a picture up here. But anyways, some of these books I had to read for school, some of them I read for pleasure, but I thought either way it'd be fun to go through them. So the first book I read this month was Antigone by Sophocles. I'll put that up here. For school I actually had to read the whole Theban plays, and I hadn't read those since high school and I forgot how good they are. I truly enjoy reading plays and these ones are some of my favorites. But for specifically this month I read Antigone, which is probably my favorite out of all of them and maybe one of the most well known out of the three plays. This book is about a girl named Antigone. She's the daughter of Oedipus Rex, who is like our star of the first Theban play. This is the third one, so it's the finale. She's the daughter of Oedipus Rex, and at this point in the play, spoiler alert, her family has been sort of exiled in a way. They're still living within the palace walls, but they're no longer like the royal family. Somebody else has come in, and the main conflict in the story is that Antigone's brother died and is considered by the whole town that they live in to be a traitor and not such a great guy, and the king has ruled do not move his body, just leave him to rot in the dirt so the animals can come and eat him, and he shall not be properly buried whatsoever. Anybody who even tries to move his body or does anything nice for him will be punished and killed, basically. And Antigone is just so fed up with this guy, this king, and so she's like, you know what, I'm gonna go move his body. And so she does, and then she has to deal with repercussions from that, and it's a very good book, or it's not a book, it's a play. It's a very good play. I love reading it. And if you do end up reading it, there is a really good BBC movie adaptation of it from 1985, I want to say was the year. But I had to watch it for school and it was really, really good, and I thought I would recommend it for you guys. I literally gave it like 5 out of 5 stars. It was so good. Yeah. Okay, the next books that I read are actually a series. And I know when I say this, I'm going to be like very late to the game. A lot of these book series have been out for a while now, since like 2016 I want to say, but it is the Infernal Devices series. I'll put them like right here for you guys to see. This is a book by Cassandra Clare, who I had never read before. I had never read any of her books. I knew nothing going into this series about, you know, the Shadow Hunters series, the Mortal Instruments, anything like that. And I went in to this book because some people recommended it on YouTube and I thought it would be really fun to read and sounded kind of like my sort of thing. But wow. I loved this series so much. I love Cassandra Clare's writing. It is so incredibly good. Oh my goodness. I haven't read a series in a while that has enthralled me this much. So I was really excited to read the series. I really enjoyed it. The sort of very basic plot, it's a kind of a complicated story, is it's about a girl. Well, first off, it takes place in Victorian England. It's about this girl named Tessa who came to England from America to live with her brother. But when she gets there, she gets captured by these robot people who have been made by this like guy who's trying to capture Tessa. Like I said, it's kind of a complicated story, but then she ends up getting saved by these Nephilim sort of people. They're like work for the angels or something like that. Like I said, it makes more sense when you read the book. But anyways, from then on, it's a complicated story, but it is such a good one. I'm sorry if I explained that really bad. It's kind of a complicated story, and I just don't want to give too many spoilers away. But oh my goodness, this trilogy was so good. I can't say enough good things about it. I love the characters in this book. I think Cassandra Clare did a great job with the character development of these characters. It was so good. There's like no character in here that I didn't like. I truly liked all of them, and I thought they all had their pros and cons to them, and they have the little quirks, and they all played an integral part in the story, which I thought was really important. And the other thing that I really loved about this book, or about the series, is the love triangle. This love triangle, oh my goodness, it's so good. I find love triangles to be quite overdone, kind of boring, and usually when you read them, you can kind of tell who the main character is going to end up with, and you can kind of see it coming. But Cassandra Clare with this book series said, you think you know what's going to happen, but in actuality, you don't. She really twisted the story around with this one. And what I love about this love triangle is that both boys that are in love with Tessa, you can see her being with either of them. And they both have their pros and cons. There's not like one that's favored over the other, and there's not one that's like bad for her or anything like that. It's just a really good, intricate love triangle. I really like it. And then also the plot twists in these stories. Going into these books, I usually feel like I know what's going to happen. I feel like it's kind of obvious. Sometimes these books just make it really obvious, but this series really did not. I was shocked a lot of times, so I can't recommend the series enough. Like I said, this series I gave 5 out of 5 stars for all 3 of the books. They were very good. The next one I read this month was The Secret Garden, which is not really one that I tend to read during this time of year. I tend to read this book more towards the spring because it is talking about a garden and flowers and all that sort of stuff. But I went to Barnes & Noble's one day and found this very beautiful copy of The Secret Garden, and it's one of those, I have a Peter Pan book that's kind of like this, but it's one of those where it's like interactive, so you go through the book and it has like elements where you can like open things up, or letters that you can unfold and read, which I think is really fun. And then it also has just some beautiful, like, stunning artwork. Let me see if I can find something. Like, it has just some beautiful, stunning artwork that is just really fun to read. And so I read this within like 2 or 3 days because I had to. I just got in the book. But I feel like this is such a classic that everybody knows what this is about, but in case you don't, this is about a girl named Mary Lennox who became an orphan and has to travel from India to England to live with like her uncle, I think is what it is. Yeah, it's her uncle. And right while she's there, she's living in this big house. She's by herself. She's not really having very much fun, but she discovers a secret garden and decides to bring it back to life. And that is sort of the base of the story. If you end up reading this book, I also recommend some movies to go with it. I love the 1945 movie. Is it 1945? There's a 1940s movie that's a really great version of this. It's in black and white, but I think another really great one is the one from the 90s that probably a lot of us grew up watching. That one's a really great one and filled with lots of colors and has Maggie Smith in it, who I love. But I always recommend this book. It's a very cheerful, happy little book. The next book I read was Anatomy, a Love Story. I think this is a newer book. It's by Dana Schwartz, I think is her name. I really love this book too. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, I think. Like I said, this month was really good for reading, but this was such a good book. I'm not a person who really loves romance books that much. I'll read them and I'll enjoy them every now and then, but they're not ones that I'm typically like into, if that makes sense. This book takes place in the 1700s in Scotland and is about a girl who has dreamed her whole life to become a surgeon, And, you know, of course this is during a time when, you know, women couldn't really do professions like that, were frowned upon doing jobs like that. Throughout the whole book, she is reading as much as she can about surgery and going, like, sneaking into, like, lessons and conferences. And then at one point she even disguises herself as a boy to go to a local college to learn about surgery. And so we have that aspect in there. But then it comes to the point in the story where she meets this boy who is a grave robber and convinces him to steal some dead bodies for her so she can practice her surgeries on. And, you know, stuff happens from there, and it is very good. I really recommend this story. If you want something for maybe this October season that's kind of Frankenstein-y, has like some sort of Frankenstein vibes to it that are really nice, and yeah, I just thought it was a cute little story. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. And I think they're making a second one too, which I'm really excited about. I thought it was already out. I looked yesterday. It's not. We have to wait till February, but I'm excited about the second one. I think it's going to be really good. The next one I read this month is one that I talked about in one of my previous videos where I went through my autumn and Halloween recommendations. It's a love story between Heathcliff and Kathy. They've known each other since they were little, and Kathy is stuck in a hard place where she feels like she needs to be with somebody who is wealthier and more educated than Heathcliff is, and yet she's struggling with her true feelings for Heathcliff. She loves Heathcliff. But she makes a decision, and she has to pay the price for her decision. And then the second part is about Heathcliff and what he does after the decision Kathy has been made. And I don't want to give too much away because I really like this book, but it's a love story. It's dramatic, and it has some paranormal aspects to it, which I really appreciate. So yeah, always recommend this book. The next and last book that I read this month, and I just finished this like yesterday, is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Let me see if I can get this to focus. I love this book so much. Maybe a little too much. I'm a huge Oscar Wilde fan. I have read a lot of his works, and this, I feel like, is a classic for a reason. This is probably his most famous work, and rightfully so. It's a fantastic book. Without giving too much away, this book is about a character named Dorian Gray who receives a painting of himself from a friend, and as the book goes on, he starts to realize that he is not aging, but the painting is. For like every sin that he commits, every time that he blackens his soul, this photo or picture gets more and more aged, and he hates it, and it drives him bananas. And I feel like that's all I can say without giving too much away. I feel like this book does a great job with the characters. You meet a lot of characters in this book, and you really see how they affect Dorian throughout his life. And then Dorian as a character, I feel like, is very complex. You're kind of, you don't really like him, if I'm being honest, or at least I don't really like him. He's kind of a selfish character, but I don't know, at the same time you're kind of like wanting him to not feel sad or anything like that. I think Oscar Wilde does some of his best works, and this is filled with so many beautiful quotes, so many beautiful paragraphs about just life. I always recommend it, and I think it's a great book to read for around this time as well. Alright guys, that's everything that I read in October. I hope you guys liked this video. I know it wasn't like a whole pile of books, but I feel like it was a good amount. But I hope you guys have a wonderful day. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and then also comment down below what you read this month. I am always looking for new books to add to my TBR, so I'll be looking out for those because I would love some more book recommendations. And yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful and amazing day, and I will see you next time.